everybody to welcome back to our meeting and to support us in our ongoing quest to build this amazing culture of empathy. To start us all off, let's do a quick, very short 30-second check-in. You can talk about how your buddy call was, or how your facilitation went last week, or anything else that you'd like to talk about. And I'll go ahead and call on people. So let's start off with, I'm going with people on my screen who I see first. So let's start off with John. Are you there? Okay, Janine?
Hi, I'm here.
Janine, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, so I didn't get a chance to connect with John. I actually just sent him an email, let him know that I had a super busy week, but we can certainly still connect sometime this week, which seems to be a little bit lighter. I'm just preparing to go out of town, but I did have a circle, or kind of like a one-on-one with my husband, which went very well. Of course, we did a challenge, which was for him to not want to speak on the reflecting, or have me reflect back. And we recognized that we actually got there seemed to be more tension, or maybe like judgmental feelings in the conversation we noticed when we are not reflecting back, or when I was not reflecting back. And so we were able to, of course, get back on track with the reflecting, so that way it took those feelings of judgment out. So that was interesting to see that in that challenge that we had when we did the one-on-one. But the week went well. I certainly enjoyed last week's session, and looking forward to another one today.
Thank you, Janine. Sayantan?
I had a great week. Last week, we had a flu, so we couldn't do a buddy call, but we'll get to that this week. And yeah, it was Independence Day where I am. Happy Indian Independence Day and Pakistani Independence Day to wherever you are in the world. Pakistani Independence Day was on 14th August, and where I am in India, it was on 15th August. So hope you had a great weekend last weekend, and hope you have a great week ahead too. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Tiffany?
Hello, I had a great week. I met up with Jonathan for a buddy call, and I think he's relatively new to the process. And it's always great to talk to someone who hasn't been doing it for that long, because they are just so excited about it. And I just love that type of energy. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Osu Matthew, I hope I pronounced your name right.
Yeah, you tried. Good evening. Good evening to the house. It's evening in Nigeria. I could not connect with my body caller, but the training last week was great for me. My first time of facilitating a circle or a session. I at least saw it coming, and it came as a shock to me. And from the feedback I got positive feedback, and I really feel strong being in the team, and I've been anticipating to this meeting. I could not do my body call with my partner because I am having challenges identifying who my body caller is. Even though we have a WhatsApp platform for body call, but nobody was available to do that session with me. Thank you very much.
Okay. I believe we all received an email. Maybe Bill can comment on that later. DJ?
Hi, I'm DJ. Unfortunately, I had the flu this week, so I wasn't able to do my buddy call, but we're going to do it soon. And I think these empathy circles are wonderful, and I look forward to it every week. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think she's frozen.
Priyanka, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
Larry, am I audible now?
Yes.
Larry, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Had a wonderful buddy call with Renato. Been a peaceful week, and I'm happy to be here and see everyone's smiling faces.
Thank you, Larry. Valerie?
Hi, everyone. I had a buddy call with Wendy in the UK, and it was really nice. And it was a beautiful challenge. And yeah, her enthusiasm is just, it's just so inspiring. It was a very nice call. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jana?
Yeah, I had a buddy call with Beata this morning, and that was very precious. And I'm happy to see Beata here and everyone. Thank you.
Beata?
Hi, everyone. So like Jana said, we had called just a few hours ago. I'm struggling with tiredness this week. I actually shared that with her, which I feel like is a blocking factor for empathic listening. But it's just my story, so I'm going to challenge that. And I'm just showing up, although I'm really tired.
Thank you, Beata. Dwayne?
I had an enjoyable week. I had the pleasure of experiencing an empathy circle facilitated by Wendy, who is a natural, and it's absolutely enchanting experience. So thank you, Wendy. And I completed day 33 of my 40-day gym challenge. And I facilitated an empathy circle between two sisters who hadn't spoken to each other in about 3 or 4, maybe 5 years.
Wow. That's
Wow.
really cool.
Thank you, Dwayne, for sharing that. Diane?
Hi, everybody. First, I just want to thank Edwin for all of the resources he's put in our cohort page. They've been really helpful, although I didn't have the capacity to look at all of them. But I appreciate all the work that went into it, and look forward to getting through more of them. I was not able to connect with my empathy buddy. I think the different time zones were really challenging, and I didn't have the capacity.
I think she's frozen.
She's back.
You didn't hear
Dan,
me?
the last bit, can you just repeat the last bit? We lost you there.
Okay, I'm looking forward to today. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Crystal?
Good morning, everyone. I had a rough week. I missed my call with Dwayne, and my son started school this week. His first day, there was a fight at the school. He didn't want to go back to school. And I spent the better part of 2 days this week challenged with that opportunity to articulate the power of empathy circles. I met with a counselor and I shared with her this beautiful platform and how it could be utilized. And so they are open to incorporating it into their school. The beauty of this school and where I've moved is it has more diversity than any environment my children have ever been in. And so I'm looking forward to the circle this week so I can explore more ways to help others who are struggling.
Thank you, Crystal. Mervyn?
Hi. Yeah, I had actually tried in a meetup group I run. So we had 5 people and we did the empathy circle. It was very interesting. Yeah, I realized that you have to be participants have to be in the right state to really connect with this kind of process. One person had lots of pain, physical pain, and the other person was like kind of sleeping, tiring day. And the quality of the empathy was quite difficult. So yeah, I'm beginning to realize for some people we need to do some kind of warm-up activity beforehand to get the body and the mind in the right state. So that's what I'm thinking about at the moment.
Thank you, Mervyn. Colin?
I met with Dorothy this week, and we had a long discussion. We spent the first half in conversation, reflecting, talking and reflecting back, and then the second half, we just did an exchange on what empathy means to us. And yeah, I really enjoyed Dorothy's energy. I don't see her here today so far. Yeah, and I like this idea of meeting new people and having a different empathy buddy each week.
Thank you, Colin. Leo?
Yes, I'm visiting my daughter's family, including 2 grandchildren in Chicago, 72 degrees here. I had 2 buddy chats because I needed to catch up with one I missed a week ago. So I had a talk with Mike, kind of open discussion style, and a talk with Mervyn using 4-minute chunks. And that in both cases, we talked about connectivity and other kinds of groups that we belong to. I've been listening to many webinars in the Mystic Summit, 35 speakers over a 5-day period. And I noticed the host would often practice active listening, feeding back to the speaker what they heard, but in larger chunks of information.
Thank you, Leo. Renato?
Hello, everyone. I had a great week. I attended this empathy circle which Jonathan facilitated, and I really like it. It was about some environmental issues. I'm glad that I attended, and also I had a great this body call with Larry. And yeah, we have this discussion like 15 minutes. One is 15-minute speaker and the other is active listener, and then vice versa. And yeah, I'm glad that I attended also this body call.
Thank you, Renat. Oran?
Thank you. Yes, I have had a good week, thanks. I had a conversation with a reflective conversation, empathic with Mervyn. My tech wasn't great, so we had to call it, but then but it was a real privilege. And then the privilege of a call with Celine, and that was a wide-ranging conversation, but came full circle back to the joys of this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Oran. Wendy?
I think when both facilitating the empathy circle, the European empathy circle this week, and in the buddy call this week, I just was completely reminded how everybody that I have so far interacted with within this community is so welcoming and kind and yeah, just very deep sharing. And in the buddy call, I think we focused on how empathy circle process can really help us to slow down. And we had some discussion in a 15-minute reflection, whether taking notes is beneficial or not. So thank you, Edwin, and everyone for providing this opportunity.
Thank you, Wendy. Jonathan?
I had a very calming and wonderful empathy call with Tiffany. It reminded me of just sitting with someone in a park on a nice day, chit-chatting. The Monday Empathy Cafe was an opportunity for me to do a facilitator. And what was amazing to me on Monday is the generative nature of the theme. Each of us shared our feelings about the environment, and it seemed to be spontaneous, collective, generative is the technical term, topic. And I feel I was able to contribute to it by mentioning the word solastalgia, which is the feeling of loss of something in the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Celine? Celine, you're muted.
I had a good week, a wonderful conversation with Oren, and I'm happy to be here now. And I really appreciate what I just heard about nostalgia for what's lost in our world. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda?
Had a great buddy call with Sally. And as I mentioned earlier, before everybody got in, is now I know what a sea urchin is and what they are, and that you can actually eat them, which I'm not really keen on. But anyway, it's just the way they look. It was just a great week. Busy, busy, busy. I'm in the middle of transitioning from one state to the other. My mediation practice has picked up, and so I'm just thankful that Sally reached out to me, because somehow I had added an extra day in the week and I thought I had another day, but it was all good.
Thank you. Jose?
I'm so sorry. I did not sign up. I haven't been in one of these chat rooms for a while, and I'm hearing some really good stuff, and I just need somebody to talk to. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. You say you can hear Kathleen.
Hi, everyone. My apologies in advance if I get disconnected. I'm just having some connection issues. It's been a pretty good week, busy week. I'm a teacher and we went back to school and my kids went back to school. So a lot of up and downs, challenges, but also joys, and just holding empathy circle training in my mind, and just ways that I can informally practice it. I told my buddy call person that I wouldn't be able to meet. My week just didn't allow for that, but I'm looking forward to it next week and looking forward to the training today. Thank you.
Thank you. Sally?
Hi, yeah, I had my buddy call with Linda, and so sea urchins go in sushi and they're uncooked. So moving on, I had a buddy call with my sister, very successful. My brother wants to again too. Great to have the family involved, and focusing on de-escalation with my husband in the mornings. He has his challenges, and so that's pretty much it. I had my 3 buddy calls this week.
Thank you, Sally. Bill?
Yeah, I just got off buddy call with you, Priyanka, and I really enjoyed it. And I just wanted to, my impression of you is grace under pressure. And so I really appreciated that. I've been having buddy calls and paddling a lot. So I'm a happy guy. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. Mike?
Hi. Oh, yeah, I had my buddy call on Monday with Leo, had a wonderful far-ranging conversation, and then a buddy call on Tuesday with Tanya, and had another wonderful conversation. And on Monday, I was part of the Intro Empathy Cafe that Jonathan facilitated. It was a wonderful, the topic ended up being the climate. It didn't really start out that way, but it was a very moving and vital empathy circle. And I'm really glad I attended and look forward to attending that again. That's it.
Thank you, Mike. Edwin?
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Glad to see everyone. I'm working on a new course on defining empathy. So really excited about that. So really doing a lot of work on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Edwin. I hope I haven't missed anybody. If I have, because I'm on a phone and my screen, I can't see everybody. So if I have, please do let us know. Did I miss someone?
Yeah, John.
Hi, sorry. I missed our call with Janine, my partner, but we connected this morning and we will follow up, but I missed it because of something new and interesting. I volunteer with NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and I got invited to their program with law enforcement at the Police Academy here in Austin, and we're going to expand it. And that's basically talking to the cadets in their training academy about mental health, and I have ideas about starting to talk to the trainers about empathy and empathy circles. So I got some ideas cooking. If you all remember, a few months ago we had one with law enforcement that we were hoping for more turnout. We had a few, but I think maybe another approach is through the academies with law enforcement across the country. So it's just an idea. Got to get with Edwin, get his approval. And maybe we'll get something, a new way to do some good things. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I think we are complete and we haven't missed anybody. So over to the next person on the schedule.
Okay. That's Celine, myself. Celine, do you want to start?
No, go ahead.
All right. So we're doing the feedback. And so we try to answer as many questions, but we do group them and we have a limited amount of time. So if we don't get to your question, please let us know and we can follow up in another form. So one question we had was about that there wasn't enough time really explaining the active listener. And that is the most sort of complex and nuanced role in the empathy circle, where you kind of have to reflect, not respond, and we're conditioned to respond. So sometimes that takes a little bit more. One suggestion that I had is that when you go through and do the how-to, you go through the roles, that's doing it once, then you ask questions. And so that's a second time for people to review it. Even for the other people who are not asking the questions, they hear the answer. And then the third time is to role model it as we have, the experienced person being the first active listener. So then you're role modeling it there. And so that's one way to address that at the get-go. All right, Celine, I'll pass it to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bill. So another question had to do with conflict resolution and using empathy circles in that process. And Lou, a trainer who is doing some other work right now, but is also part of this cohort, this world, has done some conflict resolution with empathy circles. And I participated in one of them on a Friday. He often offers 2-hour sessions on Friday mornings, and you will get an email when he next does that. And so we use the process and reenacted a situation using the empathy circle way of listening. And it's good, it works. It slows things down and makes things clear for everyone. So yes, that's an option. And we have talked about doing more empathy circle work focused on conflict resolution. So stay in touch. I think that will be coming along. Thank you.
Okay, and I want to recognize Dwayne. He had an excellent suggestion. and for the feedback form to add a question? And did you learn any new facilitator tools? So that really kind of makes things a little bit more specific and would give us something to really help us with the training. So thanks for that, Dwayne. All right, Celine, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, great. Another question had to do with how do you deal with somebody who's monopolizing the conversation? So of course, if everybody's staying within the structure of the circle, you only have 3, 4, 5 minutes to talk, and then hopefully people agree to that and behave accordingly. However, if that isn't happening, one of the ways that I like to intervene is relying on the values of the empathy circles, which are like mutuality and equality. And so I'm just reminding people that I want everybody to have the same opportunity to speak. And that's a way to deal with someone who's has a hard time being quiet after speaking. Thank you.
Okay. And then there was another question about the silent listener reaction. Should they react and things like that? And to me, my opinion, it's sort of a gray area. We are human beings, and so you can see people nod, or you can see people. Sometimes people put emojis in the. As a facilitator, I look to see whether that's distracting from the circle or not, because as a facilitator, you always have to weigh that if you do intervene, then that breaks up the process of the empathy circle itself. So you always kind of have a cost benefit analysis there. So, as a rule, try to, be yourself, but, you don't want to take focus from the conversation that's going on, which is between the speaker and the active listener. Thanks. Is that it, or?
No, there are some more questions, Bill. One was about if a speaker has brought up a really sensitive topic that might generate discomfort, maybe something in the realm of sexuality or something like that, is uncomfortable for everybody in the circle. And what we talked about was reflecting, but using more general language so that the speaker will feel heard, and yet it's now being expressed in a way that's easier for everybody to understand or to receive. And the other piece was, as a facilitator, can then offer buddy calls to anybody who would like to have a call following the circle, so that any remaining discomfort can be talked about. So that was another question that came up.
And I think I see one more, I may have missed one, and that was for you, the use of visuals. Celine, do you want me to?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So one of the things was the use of visuals to explain things as far as the how-to and things. And right now, I mean, Edwin does a great job, and he always puts the links in. So there are always a link for everything, I think. And so that's how we're addressing it right now. As we go forward, we might incorporate some more graphics. But check the links if you're looking for to flesh something out. And I think that is it. Celine, do you have anything else?
I don't. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And now we move on to, I believe, Valerie, right?
Okay, so everyone, now it's our opportunity to go into the breakout room. It's going to be similar to last week in the sense that you are going to be facilitating to people who are not familiar with the practice. And the difference, though, from last week to this week is that last week you did how to, feedback, facilitating, and then feedback. And then this week you're just going to do straight from how to into facilitating and then get feedback at the end. And then also there's another difference, which is you can ask for a challenge. So the challenge is going to come from either the trainer or the trainee, and you can either ask for a low challenge or a medium challenge, but we're not going to go crazy with the challenges and make you feel really uncomfortable. But if you'd like a challenge, just let your facilitator know or your trainer know. Or you can also opt to not have any challenges at all, and that's completely fine as well. So to sort of break it down, you're going to do the how-to for 3 minutes, and you're going to give the topic. What are your thoughts and concerns about being an empathy circle facilitator, or as usual, whatever's live for you. And then the turns are going to be 3 minutes each, and let everyone know that. And then as facilitator, you're going to be the first listener, and then you just ask for someone to volunteer to be the first speaker. And then you're going to end with, and that goes on for about 20 minutes, and then you're going to end with about a 5-minute feedback from everyone, including yourself. You can let everyone know how you do. So it's similar to last week, but a little bit different. So, and that's about it. Hope you all do well. Edwin?
Okay, great, thanks. So let's see, Anne, you just came back. Are you with us here? Just, okay, so we got a room for you. So we're going to go into our breakout rooms. We have about an hour and a half for that. I'll be in the main weight room here with Priyanka. Then there'll be Bill is the trainer with Tiffany as the trainee. There'll be, the next room will be with Larry as the trainer and Jana with trainee as a trainee, Celine and Mike, and then Anne with Sayantan. And then room 7 is Linda with Valerie, and then Dwayne. We'll be doing a room on his own. So yep, we'll send you off into your rooms, and hope you're having fun with the challenges. So here we go.
Linda's got a question, I think.
Oh, Linda, you're muted.
Yeah, which room will be video?
Oh, my room in the weight room here will be videotaped.
Okay.
That's the only one.
Okay.
So here we go. Yeah, wherever I am is videotaped, so just remember that.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
I didn't get an invitation to a room. Is that
Yeah,
purposeful?
you're going to be in this room. You're in the weight room. So this is the weight
Oh.
room. Priyanka is facilitating the room. This is also, we have one room where if people drop out, they might come through this room and then be sent to another room. So you're in the right place. It's 5
Okay.
of us here.
Yeah, so shall we start, Edwin?
Yeah, and Kathleen was saying something, but you were muted.
Sorry, I keep dropping out. I'm going to try one more time on my computer, so I'm going to leave and come back in one more time.
Okay.
Thank you.
So should we wait for Kathleen?
I think we could get started. We don't know how long it's going to take for her to do all that.
Okay. All right, so this week we are going to do the same thing. You're going to introduce the circle, and you can also request to have some challenges. You can tell me the degree of challenges you want, or you could choose not to have any challenges. Are there any questions around that? No? Okay. So shall we get started? Would someone like to volunteer to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead. And then let us know if you want any challenges.
Yes, I will. I want I'm willing to have challenges.
Okay,
Can
and
you hear me?
Yeah, and how difficult would you like the challenges to be?
I don't care. I mean, I never had a challenge from you guys, so I'm going to see what it is and then try to handle it. Okay.
Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, thanks a lot. Welcome to the breakout session, fellow trainees. And we're going to have an opportunity in this session to practice our empathy skills. My name is Diane, and I'm the facilitator for this particular session. And so first I'm going to give a brief introduction of how the session will go, and then I'll offer some tips for the different roles, and then try to answer any questions that you have. Is that okay? Okay, thanks. So in the course of an empathy circle, we all get to assume several roles, which are the speaker, the active listener, and the passive or silent listener. And we do this in a rotating fashion. The speaker gets to request the active listener that they would like to have, and then if the active listener is willing, they engage in that dialogue together. The active listener will be offering empathy by reflecting back to the speaker what they understand the speaker is trying to communicate. And when the speaker feels fully heard, they can indicate that, and then the active listener will become the speaker, and they get to select their own active listener. So those of us who are neither speakers or active listeners will take the role of passive or silent listeners. We'll be quietly observing the process so that when we assume either of those roles, we have some indication of some familiarity with what to do and what to expect. So some tips to support the process. If you're listening, we want you to try to reflect in your own words what you understand the speaker to be communicating. And we ask that listeners refrain from commenting on or sympathizing, giving advice, analyzing or diagnosing the speaker or what they are speaking about. But do feel free to interrupt the speaker if they don't automatically pause, so that you can capture what they're saying and reflect it back to them. And then of the speaker, we ask that you try to remember to pause, because as humans, we can only have a capacity to really hear about 40 words at a time. And you want to give the active listener a good chance to reflect back what they're getting. And also, when you are feeling fully heard and understood, you can indicate that by thanking the listener and saying that you're fully you've been fully heard, and then we can move on to the next person. And I, as facilitator, will also assume all three of these different roles. So are there any questions before we actually dive into it? Okay. So is there anyone who would like to start as the speaker? Anyone have anything they want to start? And the topic we're going to share on is thoughts and concerns you have about being an empathy circle facilitator, or anything else that's alive for you that you want to talk about.
I can go first.
Kathleen, were you offering to speak? Thank you. And do you want to ask someone in the circle if they're willing to be your active listener?
Sure. Will you be my active listener to begin?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And now just so I have a new phone, which I hope I can get to work. Okay, because it has a timer. I'm trying out my new timer today, so bear with me. Okay, Kathleen, if you want to start.
Sure.
Thank you.
So, thoughts and concerns. I'm looking at this as an opportunity today that I feel one of my concerns is happening right now. Just internet connections and going on your phone and coming back in, and when that was happening, I've facilitated with that before, not in an empathy circle, but as a teacher and a facilitator in community organizing work. And so it's not that I haven't experienced before, but just right now I was thinking, I put up my phone when the time is up. And what do I do if I'm on my phone? And kind of troubleshooting how to do things differently if that happens. So I'll pause for right now, but those are just some things coming up for me.
Mhm. So what I'm hearing, Kathleen, is you have some that you're actually in the middle of experiencing something that's of a concern to you. That this question of how do we use technology in a way that supports what we're doing, and rather than presenting itself as a challenge. And one thing that occurred to you with this going off, having to go off and on, is that if you use your phone as a timing device, and if you have to use it for something else, what are you going to do for a timing device? Is that it?
Yeah, exactly. I feel fully heard. And I'm grateful to be in a space where we're really challenged and encouraged. And it's I'm trying, again, I said refreshing already. I'm trying to find another way to articulate it, but being back at school this week, there's rhetoric of encouragement, but there's not a lot of practice of actually supporting teachers in what we're asked to do. And this is a unique space where we are challenged and encouraged and supported, not just rhetorically, but actively. And I look forward to this every Saturday.
So what I'm hearing is that you really appreciate both having challenge and support in things that you do. But when you're in your regular job as a teacher, you experience more the support as being something that's vocalized, but not necessarily demonstrated. But here in these circles, you feel that you're getting both of those kinds of things, and you really look forward to coming here to the circle and having that experience. Is that it?
Yes, thank you. Overall, right now, I feel fully heard, and I give my time, even if I'm not up yet. I feel fully heard right now. So,
okay, great. I'm hearing that you're experiencing feeling fully heard, and that you're willing to cede your time back to the circle. So, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so that means
I would like to go next.
Sure. So Priyanka, so usually the active listener is the next speaker, and I get to choose my listener, and then that person becomes the speaker. So I'm wondering if you would be willing to be my active listener, so that then you would have a chance to speak. Would that work for you?
No, but I really wanted to speak now.
Okay.
I just say something because what Kathleen said was really so interesting for me.
So you want to follow up with that. So when it comes your turn to speak, then we'd be really happy to hear you do that. But right now we're going to just follow the rhythm so that we can keep track of people and make sure that everyone has a chance to speak. Otherwise, I think it would be too confusing for me to keep track of who's spoken and who hasn't. So there's something about the structure of this that really helps facilitate the movement of the circle. So are you willing to wait then for your turn?
Okay, sure.
Okay, thanks so much. Renato, I wonder if you'd be willing to be my listener, active listener?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to start now. Thank you so much. So I'm seeing that this timer, again, like Kathleen was talking about technology, and I'm feeling that a little bit right now, that having to work out this physical timer is a little distracting and also may not be as supportive as I had hoped it would be.
So you're saying that this time management could be so distracting, and yeah, it could be distracting at some point, like what Kathleen said about technology, how it can help.
Right. So so I may have to, thank you. I may have to think through alternative timing devices.
So you have to you have to search for these alternative devices.
Yeah. I guess what I'm noticing is that when you're the facilitator, there's a lot of things you have to keep your attention on.
So you notice that when you're a facilitator, that there is a lot of things to consider.
Right. And I love the spontaneity and the immediacy of the interaction with other people. So having to have my focus pulled to other things is not so enjoyable for me.
So you said that you like to have these conversations, and I didn't understand exactly what you said. So could you please repeat?
Sure, thank you. I was saying that I enjoy the interaction, the actually talking with somebody. So when I have to pay attention to the other things, look at the timer, it's distracting.
So
it takes my attention away.
So you actually with people, this time management is actually distracting you from doing interactions.
Yeah. And I don't know if there's much I have to say that other than that about facilitating exactly. I think sometimes the like the anxiety about it could also be a distraction.
So you're saying that being the facilitator means to have to be anxious, to being a facilitator.
Yeah, not always, but sometimes there might be anxiety, and that could become a distraction.
So this anxiety, it's not always, but it could be sometimes become a distraction.
Right. And I think my other question sort of about this process, this particular process, is how it would work in a longer dialogue with somebody, like not just 3 minutes but how it would work in a longer dialogue.
So I hear you say that you're wondering how it will be if it's like a longer duration of dialogue, like
Right.
for more than 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah, I think I'll stop now. And what I'm realizing is that I didn't establish, I took 5 minutes as a given for all of us. I'm not sure that was what we agreed upon, that we would all speak for 5 minutes. So I guess I hope that will work.
Okay, so you actually, you didn't let us know that it's like 5 minutes timing, but now you said that we have 5 minutes to be a speaker.
Right. Thank you so much. And you can hear that I'm so new to this that I don't know how to stop this some ringing. So I apologize. Okay, thank you so much, Renato. I really feel heard and understood. I appreciate it. So it's your opportunity to speak and to request if somebody will be the listener for you.
I would like Priyanka to be my listener.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to start you now.
Okay, so for me, being a empathy facilitator is like a kind of responsibility, but it's not a very big responsibility, but it's smaller one. It's like to have a management, a control of the situation of a small of a small group.
Yeah, so for you, being an empathy circle facilitator is small responsibility, not a big one, where you are responsible for. I didn't get that part. Is it like to control how things happen in the group? Is that what you said?
Yes, yes, like what is happening in the group, and also this for being a facilitator, it's a great opportunity to gain that skill, which is a very valuable skill, to actually have this like human management.
So it's actually a skill that you need to develop of human nature to be able to facilitate.
Yes, and I said that it's a valuable skill because a lot of companies, if they want to hire an employee, they want employee who can have this management skill of a group.
Yeah, so you think it's a very valuable skill, and many companies need this skill of managing people in a group.
Yes, and that's why being a facilitator is actually, it's actually like a starting point to have that to have that skill and then to practice that skill.
So being a facilitator is a starting point to have that skill and to practice that skill.
And that's why for me being a facilitator is very important, and also for my future job.
So even for your future job, being a facilitator is very important. Oh, and by the way, Renato, what job are you thinking of considering?
Well, I would like to be a biologist. Well, like marine biologist, yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. And that's why I need this particular skill so that I can manage this group of people and to be like I want to say the boss of the group.
So that's why you need the skill so that you can be the boss of the group and you can manage these people.
Yes, and there is some challenges, of course. Nothing is easy, and there is always some conflicts going on, and it's important to understand these conflicts and how to resolve them.
Yeah, so it's not easy because there are some conflicts that are going on and it's important to resolve them. Like these are some of the challenges.
Yes, and also this empathy circle facilitator role with these challenges, it actually it enables to actually practice these challenges and how I can react to these challenges.
So this empathy circle facilitator role helps you to practice these challenges and learn how to react to them.
Yes, and what can I say? Yeah, that's why it's very important for me, and I'm glad that I will become one day a facilitator, and maybe a trainer.
So this is very important for you to practice, and you're glad that one day you'll be a trainer and a facilitator.
Yes, I feel fully heard, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Renato.
Thank you. So before we go on, and it's yeah, Priyanka, you're gonna be able to invite someone to be your active listener. I just want to remind everybody that when you're an active listener, you just want to try to refrain from asking any questions that in the context of listening, that you just want to reflect what you're hearing the person say. Even if the subject matter is really tempting, you're really trying to, the focus is really to give the speaker a sense of being heard and understood, rather than to answer our own curiosities. So thank you. So Priyanka?
I'm sorry, Renato, I was asking him so many questions.
Oh yeah, that's okay. It's totally understandable. But just wanted to, heighten our awareness to that's what we're striving to do here. So is there somebody, Priyanka, you would feel happy to be your active listener?
Yeah, Edwin, would you be willing to listen to me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I picked you, Edwin, because we had this very interesting conversation yesterday about self-empathy and how and how we can define it in the context of an empathy circle. And yesterday I was left with a lot of things that I wanted to contemplate on.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that conversation. It was a lot of fun. I was really enjoying it, and I hope we can kind of continue with that conversation. So yeah, anytime, just contact me and we can kind of talk about it.
So Edwin, I'm going to interrupt again, Edwin. Yeah. So again, I know this is really tempting to keep talking in regular parlance, but since we're here to really practice this empathy skill, I'm going to ask you to refrain from a dialogue back and forth, but more to put your energy on reflecting what you're hearing Priyanka say, and giving her a sense that you're really hearing her.
Okay, I
willing
forgot.
to try
Sorry
that?
about that. Yeah, do you want to say it again? I forgot what you said. Something
Sure.
about self-empathy, and you were excited about self-empathy. You had something, yeah.
Are you asking me to repeat, or are you asking
No,
Priyanka to repeat?
Yeah.
Okay, sure, thanks.
Yeah, so yesterday we had this conversation about defining self-empathy in the context of the circle, the conversation that we had. So I was very, it was very interesting, and I had realized that there were so many things to contemplate on, and it's actually such a very deep philosophical concept.
So we were talking about self-empathy, and you just really realizing it's a deep concept, deep philosophical concept.
Yeah, and I study Buddhism, so I could see a lot of parallels in what in what the Buddha taught, and in what we were talking about being mindful and self-aware. And even like I have a guru, and he also always says the same thing: know yourself first, and that will enable you to be more compassionate. And I like understood it intellectually. Oh yeah, but I never really got it until I thought about it yesterday and my experience in the circle, and how these circles are also so spiritual. Like they help me, they help me to be practically spiritual. Like everybody talks about you have to be kind, you have to be this, you have to be that. No, but nobody tells you how. So I feel like these circles are just, even for my spiritual growth, they are so amazing.
So you're just finding that these circles are really, for your spiritual growth, really amazing, because it's overlapping with your Buddhist practice, and your guru said you have to really know yourself, and you're seeing how knowing yourself is like part of self-empathy, and you see the relationship there, and some real excitement about it.
Yeah, and there's always this thing in like modern kind of pop psychology books where you have to love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. But they don't really tell you how. Like if you grew up hating yourself, I think which probably 90% of all of us do it. That's my judgment of it. Like nobody tells you how to love yourself, but everybody says you should do it. And I always had this idea about self-love as being very like going to spas and getting your nails done and all that nonsense. Like that was my idea of self-love. But after being in the empathy circles, I realized that self-love is not just, I mean, of course, taking care of your body and all that, but it's not just that. It's also, you know, the way to develop self-love is to understand yourself. Because often we have so many judgments about who we are, why we do certain things. And sometimes, of course, we are human beings and we mess up, you know, it's normal. It's natural for human beings to mess up. But then we have so many judgments about why we messed up certain things. And so I feel like, you know, when you understand why you messed up something, you can generate more self-love, because then you start moving away from judgment and you start, you know, really understanding yourself. And another thing I
So
wanted to
Priyanka,
add.
I'm going to ask you to take a pause there and let's give Edwin a chance to capture what you've said so far.
Oh,
Thanks.
thanks. I was starting to forget what
Yeah.
you said. But yeah, so it's really about you're talking about all the books say you got to take care of yourself, you got to have this self-love, but they never tell you how to do it. And in the empathy, and you used to think, oh, it's like going to a spa and stuff, but you're seeing how in the empathy circle, really hearing yourself, connecting with yourself is sort of a form of that taking care of self-care and self-love. So it's a real practice of how to do it instead of just, you know, telling people to do it. So
Yeah. And
So
all
thank
these
you.
self-help,
So thank you, Priyanka. I think your time is up.
can I
So
just continue
thank
for
you very much.
just 2 more minutes?
I think
I
we don't
just
have
want.
time. Well, maybe when you come around again in the next circle, we'll be happy for you to continue.
Okay.
Thank you. And thank you, Edwin. So Edwin, is now your,
I think we're out of time for this
we're out of time
segment in
altogether?
a
Okay.
third, right? Do we, Priyanka, do we, for the debrief, we ready for the
Yeah.
debrief?
Oh, good.
She's putting you through the ringer.
Okay. So do I have to leave that or you're going to leave that, Priyanka?
It's open. Like first, I'd love to invite Renato and Kathleen to share their feedback, and we can just like do a quick round of feedback, all of us.
Maybe start with Diane, just the facilitator. So just how is it for you? Just start with you first.
So, you know, it's good because I think once we got started, I saw the things I sort of left out in the beginning, the timing, the fact that I might interrupt you to keep us on, you know, adhering to the practice and keep us within time. So, so I made a note of that. And more, I was really, so this last demonstration, what was interesting to me, because you're both really skilled, you know, it's very possible you could talk for a really long time and somebody could still capture that when you have a lot of skill. And so I was a little hesitant about necessarily interrupting you because of your skill level and your familiarity with each other. But then, you know, it seemed like we were getting towards the end. So I was a little bit concerned about that. And then I'm just really curious how it felt to be interrupted. Like I was trying to do it as diplomatically as possible, but you know, it's always the person who's experiencing that. It's really what I care about. How did it feel like to you? So I'll be interested to hear that when you speak.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dan, for sharing your experience. And I did put you through a very difficult challenge. I have to tell you that. I put you through some of the most difficult ones. So yeah, maybe we can start off with Renato. Renato, do you have some feedback for Dan on how she can improve or think she did well?
Well, I think she did very well. She noticed these distractions and she replied politely, and she did very well. It was almost chaotic, but she really resolved all of these problems pretty good.
Thank you.
Okay, Kathleen has to step away. Edwin?
Yeah, I second that what Renato said. You know, you caught the challenges, you were aware of them, you saw when things went off track. The first one I was thinking, you know, when Priyanka was her first challenge, that she was like, oh, I'd like to speak now. One thing, what you can do is I always try to stay within the process as much as possible. They're sort of explaining the problem and then trying to use the process to explain. So one trick I do is I would maybe say, oh, Priyanka, I hear you really want to speak now. And so I'll choose you to be the listener. Would you reflect back what you heard me say? You know, so you're using your explanation and have her reflect back your explanation, the correction. Then I'm always looking at how to try to stay within the process as much as possible. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes total sense. Thanks for that tip. Yeah.
And I think the time's I think it's 3 minutes. So did you have 5-minute turns? Or?
I had 5 minutes.
Oh
so
yeah,
I didn't know, but
because
it was
it's a short period, we're going to give much turns. So if it's a longer period, we have longer turns. But because you only have about 20 minutes or so for the circle, we just do 3-minute turns. So just for the others. Yeah, that was it. Otherwise, you were catching them, you were correcting them. So it was a lot of fun.
I mean, I have to say, when Priyanka wanted to speak, I almost was tempted to just to let her, because I feel like sometimes you want to capture someone's enthusiasm. But, you know, I was trying to stay. So I don't know if you've ever done that, just shifted I did think it would be chaotic then, and they wouldn't follow through. But
there's a process. You want to stay with the process, because once you break the process, then there's no rules anymore.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
and then then it really can go downhill from there. Yeah.
Thank you, Edwin. Thanks.
Yeah. Just wondering if Kathleen is back. Kathleen, would you like to share your feedback for Diane?
I mean, thank you for going first, because I found myself just wondering what I would do in that situation. And you get to learn a lot when you don't go first. And I just really appreciate that you did that, and you did a great job. And just, you know, they threw a lot at you. And I was also just thinking about how that would be really hard too, to, you know, as the trainee and the trainer, just to do things that you wouldn't normally do, like interrupt people and I just think that would be actually really hard to do as well, when you're doing it in the service of helping people, but you're also just know that you're kind of, I don't know, that would be hard for me. So I was thinking about all those things. And I think I heard you both talking about it when I came back, but yeah, what your advice is, I guess it's more of a question that it raised for all of us, that maybe we could hear. What do you recommend if somebody like Priyanka in the beginning, when you were making comments in the public chat when I was speaking? Oh, it looks like she left. Do you recommend that the facilitator direct messages somebody first when they're doing something like that, or is that too hard to do? Should it be verbal? Is it nuanced how you approach that? Do you have any tips for that?
She did it once. Yeah, she did it once. You know, you kind of let it go. If it kind of becomes an ongoing thing, I would make a point of it. You know,
Well, I have to say, I wasn't looking at the chat at all. And I think I never look at the chat when I'm doing this, because it's just, I just can't do that. So if she was doing something to me, I had totally no idea. And I don't know if that would be wise to just say, I just want you to know I do not check the chat while I'm facilitating.
Yeah, you want to pay attention.
Yeah, I want to pay full attention to what's going on, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're up, Priyanka, your feedback.
Yeah, so Dan, I really gave you very difficult challenges. So I think you did really well for most of them. And you wanted the feedback about how it felt to be interrupted. I think the way you did it was really good, because you explained to me, you told me why it wouldn't work that way. And you explained that this is how the circle is and you want to maintain that. So that was like, I actually felt more embarrassed than anything. And like, because I'm unfamiliar with the process, but the way you handled, the way you interrupted me was really good. There's just one thing I don't know, maybe Edwin can help here. Like when somebody's typing in things in the chat, even sometimes I don't know how to react to that. And, you know, where they're sharing their feelings in the chat, and sometimes people are very active on the chat. So how do you respond to that? I did put things in the chat, and I think you did not see those. Maybe you missed it.
I was just saying when you were getting off and on, that I don't look at the chat while I'm doing that. So I think I would say next time, I'm not I'm going to ask you to refrain from using the chat. I am not going to look at the chat while I'm facilitating. So if you want to communicate with me, that's, not the way to do it. Raise your hand,
Yes.
and use the raise a hand function, or when it's your turn to speak, maybe I would say that.
Yeah, but I wasn't communicating with you. I was just like writing, oh, I agree with Kathleen, and I was writing just comments and things I was feeling at that time as a silent listener.
I guess my question to you guys is, do you have a policy about that? Because I think that's extreme. I think it's extremely distracting to being present.
I was mentioning that, Priyanka, when you dropped out, just, if one person does it once, you did it once, I don't make a big deal of it. But if they're starting to do it ongoing and it's like, hey, then I would say something. If people are trying to, especially if they're starting to react to each other and have little side chats, then I would make a point of it. But we probably should get to the next person. We're kind of, the time's getting shorter.
So
thank you.
To go next. Okay.
I can go.
Yeah. So Kathleen, just remember it's 3-minute turns because this is a shorter circle.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to this opportunity to practice and grow in empathy together. I am the facilitator for today. My name is Kathleen, and I just open up the role of facilitator is to explain the process for all of us and to really support that we're all adhering to our roles and making sure that everybody has an equal opportunity and space to be heard and to express ourselves. And so that's where I would really start, is that this is an equal space for all of us. It's an opportunity to be in practice together, to learn about ourselves and others, and really grow and support each other as we bring this back to other areas of our life as well, that we get to be in practice. So the area that I just want to start with is just clarifying that we will all participate in one of 3 roles throughout this process. So you will either be a speaker, an active listener, or a silent listener throughout. And when we go through that, I'm just going to explain what that entails. So the first thing I'll speak about is the speaker's role. So when a speaker goes, you usually have a turn that's 3 to 5 minutes. For today, we're going to have 3 minutes as we're introducing what this looks like for everybody. So the speaker has 3 minutes to speak. Today's topic is thoughts and concerns about facilitating, or really anything that's alive for you today. And so if I'm the speaker, I can speak to anything in that realm. And I have an active listener who is reflecting back what I'm saying. And so during that time, the time is running, but I might want to take a pause so that my active listener has an opportunity to really reflect back what I'm saying before I continue on to another topic, or maybe just if I've been talking about something for a long period of time, I kind of noticed, so that was about 30 seconds, I'm going to pause before moving on. And then I can either end at the 3 minutes as the active or as the speaker, or if I feel fully heard before that time, I can reply to my active listener that I feel fully heard and I see my time, and I move on to that next person. And then another just quick tip for the speaker is that if you feel like your active listener isn't fully reflecting what you're trying to say, you can further clarify, address what they are hearing, but re-explain maybe something that they're missing about a point you're trying to say, so that it gives them an opportunity to really truly reflect back and show that they're hearing what you're trying to say. So after that, whoever the active listener is becomes the active speaker. And then that person chooses another active listener in the group, and the roles continue. So let me just describe a little bit about the active listener role. Again, we're not really repeating. I'm not going to use that language of repeating what the speaker is saying. You're reflecting back the essence of what they're trying to say. So what does that look like? That could be paraphrasing, Or if you're hearing that it sounds like this person is distraught or upset or joyful, maybe repeating back some emotions that you think you're hearing to really capture. And really the goal is to just show this person that you're listening to them in that way. What we're not doing as the active speaker is giving our advice, giving our own opinion, even if we want to validate the person. I struggle with this personally, especially, as a teacher, I want to validate people. That's not what that time is for, though. However, when I might become the speaker later, I can respond to what anyone has said. And that includes when I was an active listener. I might go back to what somebody was speaking about when they were speaker, when it's my turn to speak. Then everybody else, if you're not a speaker and you're not an active listener, then you are a silent listener. When I'm a silent listener in this space, what that looks like is practicing just mentally, or maybe taking written notes, whatever, maybe a combination of both, to just really listen empathetically. So it's just an opportunity to even practice individually throughout this. So we're all actively engaged throughout this process, and we all try and really be equal. So the last thing that I'll mention is just that some tips to keep in mind. There's no rule about what order we go in or anything like that, but we should keep in mind that everybody should be a speaker and an active listener at least once before we go around and repeat again. So try and just make a mental note of that to yourself and consider that. Otherwise, when you're the speaker, you can pick whoever you want to be as your active listener. And then the other tip that I just want to give is that if you have any questions or concerns throughout this, my role as facilitator is really to support that. So you can direct message me if that is popping up, but let's leave the chat free, the public chat free, so it's not distracting when people have their turns. And I'm just trying to make any other notes right now. I think that's all that I have to share to introduce this. The last thing that I'll say again, as a reminder, 3-minute turns today. The topic is thoughts and concerns about being a facilitator or anything that is alive for you. The way that we usually start is that as the facilitator, I'll be the first active listener and somebody volunteers to be the first speaker. So really we're all equal in this space. My only differentiated role is just to make sure that we're all adhering to the process. Are there any questions before we start?
Do you want to challenge?
I'm feeling pretty anxious today, and I have a lot of distractions in my house, so I'm going to opt out of challenges for today, but thank you. Do I have anybody, brave soul, who would like to start off first?
I'll go. I'm a brave soul.
Okay, thank you, Edwin.
Yeah,
I'll be your active listener.
Okay. What's coming up for me is in terms of facilitation, is really how to sort of spread the practice. Like, I know you're in schools, and like, how do you bring empathy circles into an environment that it's a new practice, how to bring that in to a space that's not familiar with it.
Sure. So what I hear you saying is that, you're thinking a lot about what's alive for you right now is how do you bring this into other spaces? So an example you just gave was, bringing it into schools, but what's the entry point? I think is, what you're speaking to, like, you think it can be effective, I think I hear you saying, but how can it, how do you bring it in initially?
Yeah, and we've been in contact with someone who's like a school counselor, and she's thinking, oh, I'd like to hold circles, and sounds like there's a class where there's some student who's sort of disruptive, and they're trying to figure out, how to sort of work with this student, and they thought empathy circles would help, and for me, it's I would like to see a whole school, like all the students learning this process and learning how to facilitate, and then facilitating, and then even using it for personal connection and support and for conflict resolution.
Okay, so you were speaking, that was quite a bit, and I was trying to follow on that, so let me know if I'm missing anything, but you were speaking with a counselor and they're thinking about how they can bring it into a school setting, and you were talking about a school-wide approach. Can you repeat that? Do you mind?
Yeah, I think a whole school that kind of had empathy circles as a practice, one is a practice, and then teaching facilitation. So the students can self-facilitate the circles, I think would really change the nature of the school for the better.
Okay, so you're seeing it as a whole school-wide initiative, and there's levels, so students can actually do this as well, and then bring it out to a training within the schools as well.
Yeah, and how to implement that. It's hard to bring in new processes and systems into any organization. So I just sort of sit with that question of how to do it. I don't have all the answers to it, but I just always look for opportunities for kind of spread it like that.
Right, so it sounds like you're sitting with just a lot of questions of when you bring something into a whole system for the first time, what, don't really have any answers. You're just really sitting with that right now.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. I'm going to take a bio break, and so I shall return, be right back. So
thank you. And that was time anyway. So I am the active listener. I'm just restarting my clock. Renato, will you be my active, I'm the speaker, sorry. Will you be the my active listener?
Yes, I could.
Okay, thank you. I just started the time. I will use my time to just talk about what I'm processing right now. I was distracted a lot because Priyanka left, and I don't know what that was about, and I'm sure everything's fine, but I just am noticing I was distracted by that. And I also am reflecting on how when I was repeating back to Edwin what he was saying, I also interrupted him. So I'm just feeling a lot right now.
So you said that you feel that it was like when Priyanka left, it was a kind of distraction, and also when Edwin don't understand you, and then you have to reply. This is what actually makes you maybe anxious.
Right. So just noticing some of the things that I'm doing as a facilitator, and that if I'm too in my head about being a facilitator, though, then I'm not helpful as a facilitator. So I'm just thinking and processing that right now, that a facilitator is a unique role, and if I'm too caught up in the logistics of being a facilitator, then I'm actually not present with everyone here. So I'm trying to discern that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So you're processing this this role of being a facilitator, and you're concerned about that you cannot be present, and you have to manage all the things that are happening.
Yes, thank you. And yeah, I feel fully heard. I'm going to cede my time. I have a little bit of time left, and whenever you're ready, you can be the speaker.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I would like to have Diana to be my listener.
Okay, my pleasure.
Okay, so it was really interesting to hear that this facilitation could be spread around outside of these online circles, like in the schools and maybe in the other areas, or or in, yeah, like in schools. I think in schools it's great idea actually in schools.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're excited to hear that this process can be spread beyond these online confinements. That, you know, even the idea of putting it into school sounds exciting to you.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes, and I think that schools need actually these children from the younger age. They need to practice empathy, because in the future, when they will grow older, they will not get that skill.
Mm. So it sounds like you really can see the value of kids learning this at an early age, and that because as they age, they may not have the opportunity to learn that skill. So it would be important to have it available to them when they're young in school.
Yes, and it's really valuable skill, and they could practice it with their family, with friends, and with brothers and sisters, and they could become more confident, and yeah, they could become more confident and to learn these values of human beings.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're really seeing the potential of being able to be skilled in empathic listening. And that when they learn it as a young child, they have a whole arena of their family to practice in, so that when they can gain more skill. And then when they grow up, they'll have more ease in using it with other people.
Yes, and not only that, it could also help the parents to have better parenting skills, because maybe parents are not have empathy to each other, and then if that child learn how to empathy circle, then he can empathy circle with parents and to actually bring back families if they are like divorced or they have conflict.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like by learning this skill when they're young, children can really make a contribution to how their family functions. Like they might be imparting this information and this technique to their parents to help their parents might be more responsive parents, and also help them strengthen their own relationships with each other.
Yes, and that's why I see this potential in the schools.
Can I interject? Thank you. Your time is up.
Okay.
And Diane just reflected back to you. So I just wanted to mention that. And I'm going to pause for a second and just name that I didn't mention this at the beginning. When our time is up, I will hold up my phone and you can finish your thoughts or finish repeating back what somebody said. And then if we still didn't see that visually, I'll interject verbally, but I didn't mention that at the beginning. So I apologize. Thank you both.
Okay.
So Diane, thank you.
I feel fully heard also.
Thank you.
Active speaker and choose your active listener, please.
Okay. So Priyanka, would you be willing to listen to me? Be my active listener? Thank you. Oh, I just feel a rush of energy through me when I'm listening to Renato talk about his vision for how this could be an expanding skill set in different environments.
Yeah, I feel energized when you heard Renato speak about how these skills can be used in different environments.
Yeah, because I think that's, in my experience, it's very powerful tool.
And in your experience, it's a very powerful tool.
And I think I also share that dream that this, in nonviolent communication, which is something I studied, they circulated a video of young children learning and using the skill.
Oh, by the way, I also studied NVC. So we have that in common. Just wanted to let you know. Yeah, so, oh gosh, I forgot. Could you just repeat what you said?
Sure, I was saying that I saw this video of very young children using nonviolent communication in their classroom, and it was just very exciting to watch.
Yeah, Edwin, I think we're working on that regarding the project also, right? Regarding the empathy
Just to
project.
give you a heads up, Kathleen didn't want any challenges, so
Sorry.
you were out, so I just let you know.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. So Dan, you were very inspired by NVC, which is something that you studied, and the way they're being implemented in school.
Right. I also just what's coming up for me also is a question that Colin referred to in the opening about how he and his empathy buddy talked about what is empathy.
Yeah, and you also want to reflect on Howard, was it Howard?
Colin, C-O-L-I-N, Colin.
Colin, how he spoke with his empathy buddy about what empathy means to them.
Yeah, because I have this sense that even though there may be a common thread, that different people, that there might be also a variation in how people would define that.
So even though there seems to be a common thread, there might be variations in how people would define that. So you find that very interesting.
Yeah. And I know that when I really want empathy, like when I'm really, does that mean my time is up? Okay, so I'll stop. Thank you so much, Priyanka. I really feel heard and understood. Thank you.
Should we do feedback, Priyanka? Or you want to do one more round? Or?
Yeah, feedback for Kathleen.
Mm-hmm.
I missed a lot of it, but I can just say about the introduction. It was really good and very comprehensive. But I did notice that it went beyond 3 minutes. So maybe try to make it more concise if possible.
Do we want to start with Kathleen talking about her experience?
Yeah, Kathleen, how was it for you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I feel the same way in my introduction. I was feeling that I was clear and that I was talking for a long time. And so just being more discerning about that. And maybe I was just thinking at the end, I had all these other little tips and reminders, and maybe give one or two, and then just open it up for questions. And, you know, if things come up during the time, then I'll address it then. That's going to happen. And then the other thing that we just experienced, I know, Edwin, you told Priyanka, oh, Kathleen didn't want any, you know, and it's fine. But what I was trying initially was just sending Priyanka a direct message. Please remember, we're not giving our own opinions. We're just reflecting back what we hear. That was going to be my approach to just address it initially, but it also wasn't working. So the direct message at first wasn't working. And so it was a delayed message. So I'm glad I got to practice that, because if that happens, I will probably have to just verbally interject. And anyway, I'm just grateful for the experience, but I just observed that. And the last thing I'll say is that I noticed just the nervousness, how that shows up. And when Edwin was sharing and I was repeating back, I don't know if Edwin noticed, but I interrupted Edwin when I was repeating back to him as the active listener. So I've never done that before, and I think it's just because of nerves. So just knowing how that's going to show up is something that I need to reflect on. Thank you all.
Yeah, so I'll just say that I really appreciated in the introduction how you put some of the values up front as an explanation for what we're striving for. because I felt like that was a good contextual centering piece for me. And I also loved the way you personalized the roles. You said if I was the speaker, I would say this, I would do this, this, and if I did this, this. And I thought that felt really effective to me, to have you assume those roles in describing them, because it brought alive the different aspects of it and what you could encounter and what would be helpful. And it felt to me like it makes one a part of the whole process, not just the person describing the process. So I really appreciate that. And I also like the reminder that we try to make sure everyone is heard and gets a chance to speak in the first go round. So that sort of always happened in the circles I've been in, but I appreciated the reminder of having an awareness of that. So that's where we're going. That's what we're aiming for. So yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Diane.
That was helpful.
I would like to say that it was good and the introduction was really in details. I like that, but maybe it was too long. Maybe you should make it much shorter, because it was very in detail, but it's maybe too much details. But overall, it was really good.
Thank you. I agree. Thank you both. Thanks, Renato.
Okay, well, I guess I'll jump in. What everyone else said was great. Diane, what you were saying was really good. The values part, like just saying that it was an equal space. It's like, oh, I said, oh, I like equal space. You know, this is good. I want to. So that was really kind of just set. You know, I just kind of had a good feeling when I heard that term about equality. You can have challenges next week. We'll do it again, so you'll have a chance for that. And a note that just technical is, like, Priyanka is on a cell phone. So if you're not on a cell phone, but if you hold up a sign, people on the cell phone can't see it, because I think sometimes they're only seeing one other person. So, and sometimes having a little tone, like a little, ringtone, a gentle ringtone can kind of help with that. So just to note that, people on, you can always tell if they're on a cell phone, because, like, it's smaller screen. So yeah, otherwise with nervousness, it's like, everybody's nervous to begin with, and you just keep doing it, you get comfortable with it, just like anything else. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you, and thanks for that tip. I didn't even think about that with being on a cell phone, so thank you.
Yeah, so let's move on to Renato.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I can start, right? Okay, welcome everybody to the empathy circle. I will be a facilitator for this empathy circle.
Sorry to interrupt, but would you let us know if you would like challenges or not?
No, I don't want to have challenge. Thank you. So my name is Renato, and I'm coming from Croatia, which means that my English is a secondary language. So I would like to have, please have understanding for me if I mess up with English. So I hope that you will have understanding for me. So this empathy circle that I'm facilitating, it's a kind of a simple and powerful way to connect with people by listening and by speaking, and for one person to speak and for the other to listen. So, and that's why there is 4 important roles for this circle. So there is a speaker. So the speaker is the person who we're speaking to the listener, and he can speak whatever comes into their minds, and also he has to pause sometimes because so to have more time for the listener to actually reflect back. So this is that role. The second role is active listener, who is the person who actively listen to the speaker and is reflecting the essence of what the speaker is talking about. And the third role is the silent listener. These are all the other candidates that are listening and who are present and listening to these empathy circles. And the fourth role is the facilitator. This is me, and I'm doing the management of the circle, and I'm setting the time for each of you to be a speaker. So the time you can speak is 3 minutes, and that's it. So if there is any volunteer who wants to begin to be a listener, and if there is any volunteer, then you can say, and if there is no volunteers, then I can be a listener. So is there any volunteer who wants to be a listener? Okay, so there's no listener. Okay, so then I will be a listener, and I would like to choose Diana to be a speaker.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so so also the topic is the concerns and the the concerns and how you feel being empathy circle facilitator. Okay, so for me, the empathy to become a empathy circle facilitator is.
So Renata, can I interrupt you for a second? I'm a little unclear. Am I the speaker first, or
Oh yeah. Sorry. I
first.
just messed up. Sorry.
Okay.
You're the speaker.
No, it's
I'm the
okay.
listener.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks so much. I'm just really admiring that English is not your first language, and you're willing to be participate in this process in English.
So you're admiring that my English is not the primary language but secondary, and that I'm brave enough to actually participate in this circle.
Yeah. So I have a lot of admiration for you for that.
So you actually have a lot of admiration for me.
Yeah. And I so appreciate that this group is made up of people from all over. Some who have English is their first language, but also people who it's not the first language.
And you're glad that there is international people who have this English language like first language or secondary language.
Yeah, because I think for me, I find it really helpful, like a sort of a wake up call in a way, to realize how sometimes we take for granted English communication in English.
So you just brought up that that sometimes you just taking for granted this English language because it's like your mother language.
Yeah, and often in schools here, we don't always teach our students another language besides English.
And so you said that in the schools, you actually don't teach them the other languages.
Yeah, I mean, in some schools they do, but I don't think it's a uniform thing.
So you think that it's not in all schools, but in the majority of schools.
Yeah, And I really see the benefit of knowing more than one language.
And you actually see this benefit of this language. And also
Okay.
it's time's up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being heard.
Okay, thank you very much. So now I'm becoming a speaker, and I'm, as a speaker, choosing who wants to be a listener. So I would like to be a Kathleen to be my listener.
Happy to.
All right. So being a facilitator means that you have that opportunity to have I don't know how to say it, to have that opportunity by being a person who are responsible for this kind of interactions.
So what I think I hear you saying is that being a facilitator gives you this opportunity to be in a role of responsibility about how these conversations take place. Excuse me.
Yes. And it's interesting that actually it could not also be in English, but it could be also in the other languages.
Yeah, and you're also making note that this doesn't have to be in English, that it can be expanded to other languages.
Yes, and there is a lot of languages, and if we can like teach each other like these languages, then we can actually spread these empathy circles and this kind of training into the other parts of the world which are not speaking English.
Right, so we could bring this into other parts of the world if we actually taught each other in other languages. I'm sorry, Renato. I'm having a coughing spell. Could you pick somebody else to be your active listener? I'm so sorry.
Okay, no problem. Edwin, you can be
Yeah, I'm
my
listening.
listener.
Yeah.
So I see there is a potential for the other languages, and it could be spread like around the whole world.
Mm-hmm. So you really see the possibility of spreading empathy circles around the world in all these different languages.
Yes, and we could have more these facilitators from the other countries, and it could be much easier to actually communicate with people who doesn't speak English.
Yeah, so you can just see the possibility of having these facilitators all over the world who maybe speak other languages and that they could facilitate in these languages.
Okay, time is up, and I feel fully heard, and thank you very much.
Okay, I'll speak to Priyanka then. Yeah, yeah, that's with the empathy circle. I think you can't, like, building on what Renato says, is that it's easy enough just to spread, everywhere. It's like, I'd love to see all 8 billion people in the world just learning this practice. I think it's all doable.
So you'd like to see all 8 billion in the world doing this practice and that it's doable.
And it can also spread just not by doing this training, but if you observe it. So if we see Donald Trump and Joe Biden, instead of having a debate, they had an empathy circle. It's like everybody would see it and they would learn. You kind of learn by observation too. So it could spread very quickly if we had some really high profile people, taking part.
Yeah, and it could spread quickly even just by observation, if we had high profile people like Donald Trump and Joe Biden doing this kind of listening and speaking.
Yeah, and I was just thinking in terms of facilitation, Renato sort of forgot about, he was the first listener instead of the speaker. I thought I would just say a few words about why we are the first listener as a facilitator.
Okay, and you just like to say a few words about why we are the first listener as a facilitator.
So here we're imagining that we're new participants. We don't know anything. So by being about the process, we're just kind of learning it. So by being the first listener, you're modeling how to do the listening, because that's the hardest part, is to really reflect back. And so you're sort of setting a model of it, and it's easier for the others to sort of pick it up, just by observation. So that's why you want to be the first listener.
Yeah, so you want to be the first listener because you're modeling how to listen for the others, because that's the hardest part, how to listen and how to reflect back.
And then the other thing is you're going to be the second speaker. So you can select someone who you think maybe is going to have difficulty with reflecting, and you can really speak in short sentences and really help them to make it easy. So you're sort of modeling and sort of teaching people by example. And yeah.
Yeah. So you're teaching people by example, because then you get to be the speaker, and you can pick somebody who has a hard time listening, and you can speak slowly and model it for them.
And with simple concepts, like and especially if you can mention a feeling, like, oh, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. It's easy to reflect back what the person is feeling versus like some philosophical concept. Philosophical concepts can be sort of hard to grasp and reflect back.
Yeah, so philosophical concepts can be hard to grasp and reflect back. So for people for whom it is hard to listen, we could reflect, like we could talk about our feelings and very simple things. They are easier to.
And that was the time. So Renata held up the time. So we have 8 minutes left. I don't know if you want to go into the feedback. Ready for that? Yeah.
Yeah, Renato, would you like to say how it was for you?
I think it was good. I think that I have done a good, pretty good introduction, and this introduction to the roles, and then this facilitation. But yeah, I just mess up with this choosing the listener and speaker. But I learned that I should be like the first listener, then I'm choosing the speaker who wants to be a speaker, and then first reflecting this speaker, what the speaker is talking about, and then because I'm the listener, then I'm becoming a speaker again. Actually, I'm becoming a speaker, and then I could be like first the listener, then the speaker. So yeah, I learned that, and yeah, I think I did a good job.
Thank you, Renato. Dan?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that you messed up. I mean, we're human and we make mistakes. I thought you recovered from that really quickly and pretty instantly and with good humor. So I appreciated that very much. And I also appreciated your introduction. I felt while you're saying this is a simple way for us to connect, as one person speaks and another person listens. I think that made the process accessible to people. And I also appreciated how clearly you talked about the role of the facilitator and what you would be doing. So that was helpful to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Kathleen?
Yeah, thank you so much. I thought you were really clear in the beginning. You already talked about, the language piece in the beginning with just saying speaker instead of listener, and that was, I like Diane said, just it's I think how we react to it, and you switched right away and clarified things. And I apologize, my allergies got the best of me, and you switch gears really quickly when I couldn't be your active listener anymore. And I just really appreciated that because I felt really bad, but you didn't, you kind of rolled with it. And yeah, I thought you did great. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning the second language, that you're brave enough, like you're saying, to come and try this. I know doing it in another language would be really challenging for me, just being sure. Yeah, so I really appreciate that. At the beginning, you sort of mentioned the benefits of the circle, saying it's very powerful. I think you said powerful. I thought, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
It's like powerful way. I want to try that. Also, facilitator responsibility. Because everyone's new to the process here, there's a lot of responsibility. But once everybody knows the process, it's like everybody just holds it. It's so easy once everybody knows it. So the hardest part is just kind of bringing new people in. So that's where you're going to have the most challenges. So I'll just kind of mention that. So otherwise, yeah, very smooth, very, really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, Renato, for me also, like I couldn't imagine, like I also speak German, and I couldn't imagine doing this in German with German people because it would be so scary, and you have to, it's so complicated, like explaining active listener and active, and you did, I mean, you did such a good job, and when you explained about that it's a second language for you, I immediately felt a lot of understanding for you. So that was a very good strategy to start off. And yeah, you held the circle really well, and it was very smooth. Yeah. So
Thank you very much.
We have 3 more minutes till we go into the main room. So if anybody would like to have share any comments, feedback, or questions, please feel free to do so.
I have a question. If you've ever asked anyone to leave the circle if they've been sort of disruptive to the point where they, where they're not going to allow the process to proceed, even if you explain to them what you're trying to do. And have you ever asked, said to somebody, well, sounds like this is not the right time or fit for you right now. So
I've never had to kick anyone out, because they're disruptive. People have said, oh, this is not for me, or maybe dropped out. It's kind of like if you're coming into the circle, you're coming to do the process. We've had people who were super disruptive. There was one guy who would go to NVC events and just like terrorize everyone with, I mean, really, they had nervous breakdowns, and maybe Franca knows who I'm talking about. And he came into the circle, and he would, during the intro, he would, lash out and stuff. But in the circle, in the process, he always stuck with the process. It was just like amazing. And he had conflicts, and I'd say, okay, let's have an empathy circle, around this conflict. And so it was like the empathy circle always held in that case. I have had where family members are in big conflict and they just have stepped out of the circle. They say, no, they just were in a really, fighting mood. And then I said, well, I'm leaving because I am here to do a circle. And if you don't want to do a circle, I'm gone because that's what I'm here for. And they said, no, I'll do it. And I was like going to be gone forever. It's like, so anyway, those are, yeah, but it's very rare. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Actually, for my very first circle that I facilitated, I remember talking to Edwin about it. I had this, I had 2 people who were, I mean, I don't think it was they, but I think it was my lack of facilitation skills. But there was this one girl who was sharing something that was very deeply painful. And somehow everybody in the circle kind of felt it obligatory to always choose her as a speaker again and again. And I found that I didn't know how to handle that, because everybody felt this kind of need that her pain is more important than what they want to talk about. So everybody kept picking her, and she kind of dominated the circle. So I didn't know how to handle that because everybody was willingly picking her. So that happened with me.
Mhm. So would you now like find another person to sort of step out of the circle with her to give her a lot of more empathy if she needed that much attention? Or how would you handle that now, do you think? Not to put you on the spot, but just out of curiosity. Because sometimes I know in MBC circles, we have a person who will step out with somebody if they need much more support than the circle process can offer.
We
Yeah,
can
but
do
if
that. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I didn't intervene because everybody wanted to do that. So, but it's my judgment that I felt like they were doing it because she was very needy. But that's why I wanted to make this disclaimer. I make this disclaimer. This is not a place to get counseling or psychological help. This is, we are just normal people. I make that disclaimer now, so like sometime, but that was very rare. There was only one time it happened. It was my first circle.
Thank you.
Yeah, Edwin, you were saying something.
No, that's it. So Mike, you're up. You're muted.
Welcome back. Boy, that mute button is a bear, isn't it? And now is the chance that everybody, we're going to give 1 minute each to share your experience and your insights. And I'll just go down the list I have here. And if we get through with the participants in time, we have 25 minutes. Then we'll go ahead and go on to the trainees. So what were your learnings and insights from this experience? And I will start with, let me see here. Colin, can you give us a 1 minute to make sure you unbutton?
Sure. Yeah. So I've learned a lot. I'm still processing it. I asked for a low challenge, but it was probably more like a medium challenge. So it did stretch me. I got through it though. One of the things that I learned is to keep the circle flowing. I liked that. I like that piece of advice from Shay Anton, to keep the circle flowing. And what else would I say? Yeah, when someone interrupts, just to point out that that they can talk when their turn comes later. That was one of the challenges, but there was another challenge on top of that that I wasn't expecting. But yeah, and also for me to think about boundaries in terms of if it's really a sensitive topic, how I'm going to deal with that if it's making people uncomfortable, including me. I need to do a little bit of self-reflection on that.
Okay, thank you. Diane?
Yeah, well, I thought it was a lot of fun to do it. And I enjoyed the challenge. And I think the tip that Edwin gave me, which I think is really helpful, is to address the challenge using the process. So when you say what you say to the person in the challenge, you can ask them to reflect what they understood you to say. And therefore you're instituting the process within even handling the challenge. So I like that idea. I'm going to work on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. DJ.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was very lucky. I had Tiffany, brilliant examples of active listening by Tiffany. I had Bill, brilliant disruptions by Bill. And Crystal, of course, who's always amazing. I think that I learned a lot. And one of the things I need to kind of think more about is this idea that people can really talk about whatever they want to talk about, and we don't have any control over that, and that it can get heated. I've never experienced that, but Bill was sharing that that can happen, and that you might want to redirect into having a buddy call or something like that. But thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan?
I enjoyed the experience with my fellow travelers, and I think we all benefited from working together as a group to accomplish the educational goals set for today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Crystal?
Yeah, it was beautiful, Tiffany's share of a dating app, even in terms of an empathy circle, and how we all, when we have outsiders coming in, trying to become an insider in this beautiful community, how we can sometimes have judgment. And so, and how we can refrain from that when we recognize that we're all learning this beautiful skill together. And that story is just something that should be shared with everyone. It's a beautiful story. I'm just thankful.
Okay, thank you. Leo?
We did justice to the topic of challenges in an experiential way. We had good challengers in Jenna and in Larry. But it seems like the antidote to all challenges or distractions is to find anchor our conversation, both as speaker and as listener, anchor that in a peaceful heart, a silence within that will fortify us for any distraction and any challenge that we encounter.
Thank you. Now, Matthew Osu. Are you able to?
Yeah, even though I wasn't consistent on the
I'm not, you're cutting off, Matthew. I know you're having internet or connection difficulties, so let me go on to, we'll get back to you if we can, Osu, but let me go on to Mervyn.
Thanks. Learned a lot. I think I was in the group with Wendy and Tanya and Dwayne, and Wendy's idea of using little cards. I hope she can flash the cards up when she comes to her turn, but that was a really useful tip for each of the roles. She just had cards with active listener and just holding it up as she was speaking. I thought it was a really clever thing to do. And also a card that said, please slow down, which I've never seen before. I thought it was really clever to use that one as well. Also, Diane said that she actually enjoyed the challenges. I find them stressful. I'd love to get into her mindset and learn how she can enjoy challenges. But I cope with them okay, but inside I get quite stressed. And I find they do break the flow of the session, and you end up feeling it's more of a stressful session rather than a soothing session. So I don't want too many of those if I carry on with this process, really. That's me.
Okay, thank you. Renato.
Yes, I'm glad that I had positive feedbacks of being a facilitator, which was beyond my expectations. And also I learned about these challenges that I could encounter when being a facilitator, but through others, I didn't have challenges because this is what I requested. These challenges that I experienced from others will actually prepare me for the next time when I will have when I will become a facilitator to to know what can I expect.
Okay, thank you, Renato. Sally.
Yeah, hi. I asked in challenges to dive in the deep end of a pool. It was interesting between Shayantan and Anne, as it was very silly. And so I had a difficult time telling them to yeah, to get back in the empathy circle because of that. In my introduction, I forgot such things as the facilitator role, timing, and also like when I was doing the timing as a hand gesture like this, I was told instead to make a noise. And also for individuals disruptive or can't hear, to offer the use of telling people to use the mute button to fix their situations. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and I wanted to say awesome job to Colin, and that he way outdid himself. I mean, way outdid everything.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Learned a lot.
Thank you, Sally. Tanya.
Yes, thank you, Mike. So it was a really interesting session. Thank you, Dwayne, for the challenges. I was with Dwayne, Wendy, and Mervyn. Two key learnings really is when the challenges arise, a great way would be just to refer back to the process and the purpose of the practice and why we're here. Another one was anticipation. When we anticipate, challenges or issues, this actually really interferes with the being in the moment. So really try to avoid anticipation and just be in the moment. Thank you.
Okay, let's see, Wendy.
Thank you. I just learned loads. Dwayne was phenomenal with his challenges, and I was surprised how much anticipation I had expecting them. And as Tanya just shared, he really helped us see the no need for that. And Mervyn mentioned about the cards that I use to in the description, so it's just obvious. And then I'm sure it wasn't my idea. I must have got this from somebody in an empathy circle somewhere. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, Aaron.
Thank you. Yeah, had some good learning. I wasn't brave. I went for low challenges, but I'm glad I did. From hearing all your experiences, but they really helped me. And yeah, I think the key learning is dealing with them by referring back to the roles and the values of the circle, and and what we're trying to achieve, equity and mutuality. Thank you, and thank you Mike for doing such a great job on trying circumstances.
Thank you, Aaron. So let's try Matthew Osu one more time. Matthew, do you have a better connection?
Yes. Sorry, my network has been challenging, but I learned from one of our participants sharing her story, how they were able to resolve conflicts in a community, because that is my the role of the work I'm doing is actually in community. How they went into a community and resolved conflict in neighborhood, averting bloodshed and other issues using part of deploying empathy during conflict. And I think it's really a good lesson for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, your connection is finally great, right at the end here. Okay.
Yes, I have to move to various locations to see how best to really handle the issue. But apologies, everyone. It's not deliberate.
Well, you found the location now. Wherever you're speaking from is great. Okay, did I miss any of the participants? If you could.
Yeah, Mike, I'll share. So we had a great empathy circle. My partners were Linda, John, Jonathan, and Valerie. I think everyone did great in sharing, our feedback on challenges, and Jonathan did a great job on his challenge when I just up and interrupted and saying that this is kind of a pointless conversation we're having. And he jumped in and basically even thanked me after, addressing the interruption. He thanked me for my interruption and just, kind of let me know that everyone's voice needs to be heard here. And so he did a great job. I got some key takeaways from Valerie about it's the speaker's responsibility to say how they would like to be reflected, whether that be verbatim or paraphrasing. And it's also the listener's responsibility to ask the speaker for pauses. So just some key takeaways. And Linda was going to share another nugget. So hopefully she gets to share a little bit of what she was saying before our call ended.
Okay. Linda, did you want to say something?
Janine, I guess that was payback. Thank you. What I was going to share is that in terms of whether the listener wants it paraphrased or parroted back to them, it is their responsibility, and it's also to let the listener know. The speaker should let the listener know how they want it. And then for the facilitator as well, if you see the expression on the speaker's face, getting all contorted, and maybe they don't know they can do that, it's okay as the facilitator to say, are you, getting it back the way you want it and whatever. So it's a team effort. And the other thing I was going to say in the introduction to my group, we ran out of time, is that if you want to engage the group, a way to engage your group is to let them know what the purpose of the empathy circle is and what it will do for them, what they're going to get out of it. And usually when you tell a person what they're going to get, because it's always about us, then they'll be, more engaged. That was it.
Okay.
Thank you, Janine.
John, I think we missed you. John.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Just wanted to say, when the speaker gets to pick the topic and they talk about something personal, I think it adds an extra dimension of passion. And it not only can they express what's dear to them, but as a listener or a silent listener, I learned a bunch just about other perspectives. And we talked about critical thinking. That was one of the discussion points. And I just loved it, that I got to express myself, and I learned from the folks, Linda and Valerie and Jonathan and Janine. So I think if we can really make that option, I know there's a topic that's presented for the group, but if you let the person talk about what's on their heart, it adds that extra dimension, I think.
Okay, are there any other participants that I missed? Because we can start I can start with the trainees. We have a few minutes left, I guess. We have five or 6 minutes left. All right, so I'll go with Sayantan. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I hope I'm audible. So I was in a group with Anne and Colin and Sally, and it was interesting. We had some gateway challenges that could easily snowball, and both of them handled them very differently, but it was beautiful to see how they managed to get the rhythm on and get the thing flowing. So that was well handled. An interesting question maybe for next week that could come up is how to handle uncomfortable topics or situations where boundaries might come up, and yeah, that's something I'd also probably need to think more about. But it was an interesting experience. It was also interesting for me to learn how that works. So I had a good time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Tiffany.
I had a wonderful experience with Crystal and DJ and Bill, and I just would like to meet with them again anytime.
Thank you. Let's see, Jenna.
I was with Leo and Beata and Larry, and I really had fun giving challenges. I like receiving challenges, but it was fun to give challenges, and Beata and Leo handled them very graciously, and our conversation was very meaningful. It was very good. Thank you.
Okay, Janine.
Oh, I chimed in already, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you did. John Rodriguez is already signed in. I'm going by the list I have here. Mike Zonta, oh, who the hell is he? Yeah, I had a wonderful time. We had a wonderful group. We had difficulty with Matthew Osu's connection, but we were able to work around that to the best that we could. I got all sweaty and nervous and had a good time. Who else? I guess we can go. Are there any other trainees that I've missed?
I can go, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have to be honest, I was a little bit intimidated when I heard I was going into Linda's group, because sometimes when she teases, she's kind of tough. And I see this and I was like, wasn't sure what to expect. But to be honest, I mean, she has such a big heart, and she's really soft. And I mean, I felt so welcome and so warm to just be myself and just to learn in that environment. She's so gracious. And honestly, it was my privilege to be a trainee under her. And I just want to say thank you.
Okay, any other trainees that we've missed?
I'll go next. This is Dwayne, and I'll begin by saying that I've always been intimidated by Linda. One of the things that I like to begin with always before I start facilitation training in my mindful preparation is, I love this quote that I'm a student first and a teacher second. And, that really was applicable today. I like the way Mervyn used his hand to explain the process. I like the fact that Tanya wanted us to focus on, what's this about? It's about deep listening and feeling heard. And then I like the way that Wendy introduced the process, using the visual aids in the thorough way that she introduced it. And so these are all things that I could learn from and incorporate into my next facilitation experience. And so I enjoyed the process. Oh, and one other thing that Mervyn introduced, this idea of ALS, the active listener becomes the speaker, as a reminder for facilitators, ALS. So these are all things I think that are going to be useful for me moving forward. And so I want to thank Tanya, Mervyn, and Wendy for a really enjoyable learning opportunity for me.
Okay, we have maybe time for one more. Anybody else want to check in or check out? Okay, I think I can probably hand it over to Dwayne now, who is going to do the closing.
Thank you, Mike. And so, and just a few final comments. Let's review what we did in this session. We practiced introducing the empathy circle process with instructions on how to participate in empathy circle. Everyone who wanted one had an opportunity to practice the empathy circle with the challenge, which I'm going to give my disclaimer. I really enjoy doing the challenges. And I'm actually a nice person, so don't believe what you saw or heard today. And then we debriefed the experience at the end of the empathy circle. And so, next week, session 4, we're going to practice empathy circles again without the how-to and just really focus on challenges. And again, you always have the option of asking for a challenge or not having a challenge. As usual, there will be an email that'll be sent out with the section 4 assignments. It's really important to encourage everyone to remember to fill out the session feedback survey. The survey is really important for us to have an opportunity to learn from each process. So I would encourage you to fill out the session feedback survey. If you have time, do your best to try to facilitate an empathy circle with family or with friends, with your relational partner. And then the other thing is to make the effort to hold an empathy buddy call. And your pairings are going to be listed in the email that'll be sent out. And then a couple things before we go. One, if you can, post one feeling that you have now as a result of being here today in the chat really quickly. I see grateful, challenged, refreshed, engaged, deep learning, free, connected, strong, educated, gratitude, community, compassion, knowledge, happy. And for me, I would say grateful. And then the last thing before we go, unless Edwin, Bill, do you have anything before we go?
Sorry, I'll just be really quick. I just want to, we're trying to change the world. And we did. We changed a small part of it today. And that's what I love about empathy circles.
Thank you. Edwin?
Nothing to add. It was great. Yeah, excellent.
Okay, so before we go, can we have everyone turn on your cameras if possible? And we'd like to do the jazz hands before we go.
I like to say I'm a nice person.
I'll say you're a nice person.
I concur. And a fun person.
Definitely.
All right, bye, y'all.
I hope you have an enjoyable rest of your weekend and an amazing week next week as well. Take care.
Thank you, Dwayne. It was great.
See you, everyone.
Bye-bye.